I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure more folks will join as they're able. Remember, anybody who's attending, you are more than welcome to pop in and out as you need to. We will be recording and we'll put this online. So you'll be able to come back and view it as you need to. I'm going to share our agenda quickly. So in the next 3 hours, we're going to have quite a variety of topics. We're going to start with a welcome from Dean David Eddington of the Graduate College. After that, we'll have an introduction from the UIC libraries. We'll have representatives from both East and West Campus to answer questions and present about the different library services and resources. After that, we'll have a few folks from the Graduate College who will share information about funding resources at UIC for graduate students, as well as the student services that are offered out of the Graduate College office. Following that, we'll have a very quick stretch and movement break so folks can move around and get ready to continue with the second half of our orientation. We're going to have a current student panel. We have 4 current students who will be participating. We have some questions that we can use to start the conversation, but you will all be more than welcome to share questions in the Q&A feature on our Zoom meeting here. And lastly, we will close up with the Graduate Employee Organization, who will share information about membership for assistants on campus. And then we will be concluded. We hope to stay on time. We should be done right at 12 o'clock noon. If you do have any questions, if you're an attendee who is in the Zoom, we do ask that you use the Q&A feature. That way we can respond to questions and everybody can see those. If you are on YouTube watching this through a live stream, unfortunately, there's no ability to share questions through a chat function, but you are always welcome to contact us and we will share Graduate College contact information at the close of orientation, or you can always visit our website. So without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce Dean David Eddington. There we go.
Okay, hello everyone. One sec, let me share. Okay, so my name is David Eddington. I'm the Dean of the Graduate College. I'm also a professor of biomedical engineering. And I'm happy to kind of share a few things with you all today and welcome you to UIC. So it's a very exciting time to start your master's or doctoral degree. And so first, I just wanted to touch on what does it mean to hold an advanced graduate degree? So in the US, there's about I wrote down 12% of the US population has master's degrees, and only like 1.5% has PhD degrees. So when you leave the university with your degree, when you do, you'll often be the expert in the room. And and so you'll be asked to, well, you won't be asked to, but you'll be able to sort of speak to all your experience and research and kind of be that person that knows the things or knows how to find the answers to the things. And a master's degree essentially means that you've studied a particular field and you know what's the current state of the art of that field is at the time which your degree was granted. So you learned all the basics and then you learned the more advanced techniques or methodologies and you did some practice things. And then you're right at the cutting edge. And, it's all you should practice lifelong learning and always keep up with the things, but you're at the time of your degree, you know all the stuff about whatever discipline you're in. A doctoral degree takes that where you reach the edge of human knowledge and then you push it into new frontiers. So when you have a doctoral degree, you have created new understanding or new insight into something. And so, and that's a really special thing. And not many people have the privilege to do that. And so that's sort of the broad, kind of open-ended definitions of these degrees. And so I just wanted to provide a few tips to how to succeed in graduate school. There are 3, and these are backed up by scholarly research. So people who study higher education and study, success rates and attrition. And so there are 3 things you need to do to succeed in graduate school. So just write these down or keep a mental note. And the first one is have an identity shift. And so you're coming in from your undergrad degrees. You know how to study, you know how to do well in exams because you scored well enough on your grades or whatever to land you where you are now, where you're pursuing advanced degrees. So you were admitted to the program. But you have to make this shift from a knowledge consumer to someone who's going to lectures and kind of absorbing all this information to a knowledge producer. And this is somewhat true for master's degrees if you work on a project or if you work on a thesis, but more so for the PhD or the EDD degrees where you're generating new knowledge. And that's a fundamental identity shift that you have to sort of, while you're here at UIC, kind of make progress towards that goal. And then the second thing you have to do is have professional agency. And essentially, that's kind of all that means is you need to take ownership of your degree. You are the best advocate for your scholarly work, for your success in this degree program. And if you wait around for someone to tell you what to do, it's often too late. And that's not to say there's whole teams of people whose sole job is dedicated to having you succeed, but you have to seek those things out in order to succeed. And so, we're here in the graduate college to help you find those things. We have programming, we have funding resources, but you have to take the initiative to do these things. And you're probably already used to this through your undergrad degree, right? You've already successfully navigated your undergraduate degree, and you've probably had to demonstrate some of this on yourself already. But in order to succeed in graduate school, this is still true. And then the third thing is you have to learn to navigate uncertainty. And so this is a silly little comic here that just kind of I did a Google image search for uncertainty, and this one came up. And essentially, you have to know how to respond when things don't go as planned. And so, especially with the PhD degrees, but often as well in the master's degrees, things don't go how you thought they would go. It's not a linear path from this day today, your first orientation, to your graduation day, where you walk across the stage and shake my hand. And so, things will happen, and you have to be resilient and learn to navigate what the best path forward is. And that's a tricky thing to do. And the only thing you can do that is through practice and by building kind of support and networking opportunities that can help you get to that end goal. Okay, and so I just have a few slides on what specifically a little more details on these things. So in your programs, you'll shift from knowledge consumer to producer, and your programs will do things to sort of help you along this way. They'll have you read the literature, you'll be asked to identify gaps, you'll be asked to design studies or experiments or to apply commonly used methods. And so you'll be generating new insight and new information. And so when you're doing these things, just remind yourself, I'm turning into a scholar. And it's fun to call yourself a scholar too. It sounds fancy. And then taking ownership of your degree. So that was the middle one. This means practicing proactive networking. And networking is sort of can be a cringe or a awkward thing to do, but all it is asking people what they're working on and how did they find success. And so cultivating a network of others you can turn to when things don't go well will help out when you reach those uncertain times. And so networking is key to sort of build that network, right? I'm using network a lot, but to build that system of people to support you. Taking ownership means deliberate information and feedback seeking. So, when you do a thing and somebody says, "Oh, that's great, good job," that's not often enough, and so you need to be comfortable asking for more. Like, what can I do to improve this? How can I get to the next step? And so you have to seek out these things because sometimes they're often not given to you in a way that is super helpful. And this is all to say, not that UIC is known for being obtuse and a mystery of how to succeed, but when students take this ownership, then they will be more likely to succeed. And then you'll need to learn how to negotiate and handle external demands. Everybody is not just simply a student, right? You're a student, you're a child of someone, you're a brother or sister to someone, you're a partner, you might have your own children, you might have an external job, you might have family that's relying on you on something or other, you might have a dog or a cat that needs you to feed or water or take care of their business. And so you'll have lots of external demands, and you'll need to learn how to negotiate those and to move forward and balance all those things. And it's not an easy thing to do. As you're venturing into adulthood, or maybe you're an advanced learner and you're coming back after being in working in your career for a while and you already know how to do this. But for those that are coming from straight from the undergrad degree, which is the majority of you, learning how to negotiate things is hard. And it's not fun being an adult, but it's a skill that you can practice and get better at. And then lastly, how to respond when things don't go as planned. This is learning how to manage ambiguity and failure. And the PhD and EDD degrees are all about failure. Research is not a linear thing, your scholarly or your plan for what you were going to look into will often fall apart or the experiments don't go as planned. And that's the whole point of you being here is how to make progress when things don't go as planned. And so to do this, like I said before, but you need to leverage and build your support network. So meet other students in your program. Grad school can be very isolating. So don't be afraid to reach out and form groups that you can kind of commiserate with, share tips and tricks, and just lean on each other when things get tricky. And then also practice and build resilience when things don't go as planned. So, it's just takes practice, and these are skills. And so these three things, I'm just repeating them here, but they aren't innate qualities that you just have, right? Some people lean into them easier than others, but they are skills that you can build on. And so I encourage you to keep these in mind and trying to build on them so you will be successful in your graduate studies, because that's the goal of everyone here at the university is to help you get to that point. Okay, so the Graduate College has some professional development courses that can help you along the way. And so I'm just giving a plug for these here. The first one is Graduate College 513 or Grant Proposal Writing. And so this is to help you find research funding and takes you through, no matter your discipline, I think throughout the course of the semester, and Ben Williams can elaborate more on this during his section, but it'll help you write a proposal that you can seek external funding for. Graduate College 520, Mentoring Up, and this is a course that I teach, is an 8-week course, 1 hour a week, where we just go through kind of case studies and interactive activities where you learn how to navigate the complexities of graduate school. This one is mostly focused on PhD research or maybe EDD as well, and less so on the master's students. So if you're a PhD or EDD student, I encourage you to sign up for this one. It's a fun course. It's pass fail, I believe, or satisfactory, unsatisfactory. And so you just show up, we do some things, and you learn how to navigate these difficult conversations, how to do professional development, and how to be a good student, essentially. And then the last one are a few offered by the CATE, which is the Center for Advanced Teaching Excellence, and they're Grad College 591 and 592. And they're all about how to teach. The first one is about teaching for TAs, and the second one is a first course in a 4-course sequence that can give you a certificate in college instruction. And so if you're interested in staying in academia, this is something that can set you apart from your peers when you're looking for those tenure track or teaching positions in universities. And so 592 is the first installment of that certificate, and it's FOSI, Foundations of College Instruction, I believe is what it's called. Okay, so take some courses, do some professional development. And then in addition, seek out the information. So in previous years of orientation, we've had all these sort of people from campus life and safety and academic or programs and degrees and recreation come and kind of give you little spiels about what it means or how to access these resources. And so this year we're trying something new and doing these all in online modules. So, instead of this meeting could have been an email is the joke, right? So this is an email, but you have to do the work and actually go through these modules to learn how to do the things. And they have lots of good information. I just took some screenshots, stuff on how to register for courses. There's job fairs on campus. There's counseling centers and wellness opportunities. So if you're struggling, there are resources for you. And I encourage you to spend however long, an hour or so, to kind of click through these things and learn about all the resources available to you as students here. And lastly, you'll hear more about this as well, but I'm just giving a plug. You know, the more you hear something, the more it'll sink in. And so we in the Graduate College host a variety of events. This is an image from the Welcome Back picnic we had last year, and we're having this again, although it's a dessert picnic this year to try to move the lines along a little quicker. And it'll be a dessert picnic and resource fair. So people from these various departments that are in this online modules will come and have tables, and you can talk to them and learn more about various entities across campus, and you can get some free swag from the grad college and get some free food and build community with your grad students. And that's just on September 9th, the grad student picnic and resource fair. But we have events every Wednesday, I believe, and you'll hear more about this when the student support or success team talks about this. But the first couple are on how to get comfortable in grad school, hidden curriculum things, and some mini sessions. And so I encourage you to take advantage of these workshops that are, you know, about an hour, oh no, an hour and a half long, often hybrid. And so we have in-person and Zoom components, and just pop in and do, you know, meet some fellow students and learn some things about UIC. Okay, so with that, that's the end of my welcome to your graduate studies program. And I wish you a good fall semester and a great start to your graduate degree. And please reach out to myself or to any of the graduate support team that you'll hear from, or academic services team, when issues arise, and we are here to help you be successful. Okay.
All right, thank you, Dean Eddington. We appreciate all of the advice and guidance and suggestions. We'll also be trying to drop links into the chat and the Q&A for folks so you can find some of that information that Dean Eddington shared. Give me one moment while I share my screen. All right, so we have a few minutes while we await our UIC Libraries representatives to join us. So in order to fill a little time, I thought I would just share with all of you a little bit more about how campus operates. I know Dean Eddington touched on some of this information already, but if you're not already familiar, UIC is quite large. You make up a very large graduate student population on our campus. And all of you are members of both the Graduate College and another college on campus. So there are actually 16 colleges on campus, 15 of which we consider academic colleges. So your degree programs are hosted within those different colleges. And I've listed all of them here. And then the Graduate College serves as almost like an umbrella, is the example we usually use. We are sort of the overarching catalog keepers of all of the requirements for your degrees. And we help with tracking and making sure that students are getting through their degrees on time and completing all of their requirements. So we work very closely with everyone in all of your programs, including your directors of graduate studies, the different support staff who work with your programs, your faculty. And really, we are involved with every college, and we have contacts everywhere. So if you ever have questions and you're not sure where to go, you can always ask someone within your own college, or you can always ask us in the Graduate College. And I know a lot of folks always like data, so I thought I would just share some interesting information from last year. Of course, we haven't actually started fall 2026 yet. So when we do, we'll have our official census for this year. But last year, UIC's total enrollment was close to 36,000 students. And of that, 7,341 were graduate students, which is more than 20% of the total UIC population. So if you're ever walking around campus and you think, gosh, I see a lot of students who look like undergrads, I wonder, you know, if there's other graduate students on campus, you are not alone. There are quite a lot of you across campus. We offer 165 master's and doctoral programs, as Dean Eddington mentioned. So we have a very extensive catalog of academic study on our campus, and that includes West Campus, East Campus, and every single college across the campus as well. Do we have any Q&A questions that had popped up that?
I was asking about the orientation and stuff.
Ah, yes. All right. Let me stop sharing my screen quickly. All right. A lot of you should have received the UIC 101 module or portal links in your email. So an outside company actually helps us with putting together and delivering that portal for all of you. I have heard from some students, not all, so I hope it's not a widespread issue, but I've heard from quite a few students that they're not able to access it, or once they get in, they're not seeing all of the modules in there. So we have notified the orientation office on campus, and they are working with the external vendor to see what's going on with that. Hopefully they'll get that up and running in the next couple of days. But I encourage you to keep checking it daily, just to see, when everything gets back up and running. And you will have access to that for a full year, all the way through your first year of graduate school. So we encourage you to always go back and visit it if you're not sure about something, or you think, gosh, I think they mentioned financial aid, or they mentioned transcripts in those modules. You can go back and watch videos again or review information that was on there as well. And I did see a question here. Why did the Graduate College and the Honors College have asterisks? That is a great question. Of the 16 colleges on campus, the Graduate College and the Honors College are the only two that don't have their own internal degree programs. So the Honors College is for undergraduate students who are in the academic honors program. And then the Graduate College, as I mentioned, we are the umbrella across campus. So we do not actually host any graduate degree programs within just our own college. All of the degree programs are housed, if you will, in the other colleges on campus. And it looks like we have both of our librarian friends here. So Annie and Rosie are our representatives from the UIC libraries. So I'm going to hand it off to them. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring up my slides here. Okay. Is everyone seeing the UIC library slideshow? Okay, great. I will get started then. Good morning, and thank you for having us here today. Graduate students are the library's most engaged researchers much of the time and very dedicated. And it's our pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to help you get your research started on the right foot and really learn how to maximize our online resources, as well as the human resources in the library, our librarians. So just to begin, my name is Annie Armstrong, and I'm a faculty member in the library, also a liaison to education and psychology, and I'll tell you what that means in a few minutes. Rosie, do you want to?
Hi, I'm Rosie Haneke. I work at the Library of the Health Sciences on the west side of campus. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the head of our information services department here at LHS, and I'm also the librarian for systematic reviews and evidence synthesis.
Great. So just to give you a run through of what we're going to address today, we will explain what a library liaison is and how you can take advantage of that person as a graduate student. Not take advantage of them, but use their services. How to navigate the library effectively and efficiently and make productive use of our wide array of resources. We will address AI and how it's sort of come on the scene and infiltrated the research process and what to be aware of about how it works and how it is limited in some ways. Rosie will address citation searching, pending our time allotment or the time left, and how to use the libraries in person. So we also have physical libraries in addition to our many online resources. And of course, we will address how to get help in the future. So a library liaison is the specialist for your discipline. And they can help you make productive, efficient, and extensive use of the library resources available to you, and really provide a customized introduction to research tailored to your personal needs. So this often involves learning about advanced search strategies. It could also include catalog searching for books, finding data, learning about scholarly communication and publishing. Another thing that you might want to touch base with your liaison about is how to effectively manage your citations. So you'll be finding really a large volume of research as you plumb the depths of the research related to your dissertation topics. So getting to know how to manage citations using a tool like Zotero, RefWorks, or EndNote will be really indispensable to you as a graduate student. And we have also other specialists in the library. So if the liaison is not the person to address your research challenges or questions, it's their job to put you in touch with someone who can. So one way to figure out who your liaison is to just jump on the library website, library.uic.edu, and explore our research guides. So this is an example of one. Not only will it tell you who your liaison is, but it will tell you some of the prominent databases that are relevant to your discipline, so where you should be doing your literature searches. So another way to contact your liaison is to go to basically contact us on the library website. That's where you will find a form for scheduling research help. So we can meet with you either online via Zoom. So that's a very popular option. We can also plan to meet in the library in one of our offices. So if you prefer an old-fashioned one-on-one in-person meeting, that's also an option to you. So when you submit the request form, which is labeled Schedule Research Help, it will be forwarded to the liaison in your discipline, and they'll get back to you and confirm a time and send a Zoom link or tell you where the meeting will take place. So there's also a directory where you can look up various library staff and liaisons. And as shown here, you can also email us or request course instruction if you're teaching a class and you want to provide your students with research instruction. So as I mentioned, we do want to briefly address AI and how it's impacted the research process in various ways. This could be a 2-hour presentation, so I'm going to try to make this quick so that Rosie can share library resources with you and help you navigate the library website. But basically, we wanted you to be aware of some of the limitations of using AI, so particularly ChatGPT or other LLM, large language model systems that do offer or provide research assistance. So they can cobble together resources, they can summarize topics, they can even provide citations. And you may have experimented with this. Many people have. So just keep in mind that the coverage is iffy and often limited as compared to some of our proprietary subscription library databases. So those aim to systematically index academic journals in a particular discipline. So there are definitely holes when you're using a large language model system. And some of the better systems actually require a personal subscription, which costs money. And I know money is an issue for a lot of graduate students. So I would definitely recommend starting with what we already pay through the library. Part of related to the coverage, the iffy sort of limited coverage can also stem from the fact that some of these tools are just using what's freely available or open source, whereas our library databases provide deeper access to fee-based journals that we subscribe to through the library. A big concern is the fabrication of what are called ghost citations that don't, in fact, map to real sources. So AI will make things up and send you on a wild goose chase to look for something that doesn't actually exist. It has a tendency to lump together information from different sources, making it difficult to figure out where the particular citation or information comes from. So doing the research on your own, you can clearly map what information comes from which source. And then finally, AI has been shown to have some cultural biases, and definitely using your own uh, critical thinking to analyze all the search results available to you allows you to basically make your own decisions about what you want to use in your research. And there are some ethical considerations. Scholarship is a conversation. So basically, what are the implications of generating and citing ideas from sources that are unidentifiable in terms of the contributors to the conversation? It really could compromise the research quality and integrity of your research. And as a graduate student, you're trying to make a meaningful impact on the research in your discipline. So that could compromise that impact. Academic integrity also requires engaging and creating content, not copying the work of others. So just keep that in mind. There is sort of a crossover between AI use and plagiarism, especially if you don't know where the information is coming from. Many researchers opt out of AI entirely due to the environmental toll of AI, such as the building of data centers, excessive energy consumption associated with AI use. So still, AI is here to stay, and its functionality has been incorporated into many of the tools that we subscribe to. So additionally, you'll see it show up in your Google Scholars searches, and Rosie will touch on Google Scholar in a moment. So you might find yourself engaging with it without making a conscious choice, although there are ways to disable AI in a given tool if you choose to do so. So some people find it useful for exploring new concepts and ideas, filling in gaps, so kind of thinking of it as an enhancement to your research. And when you do use it, there are guidelines of particular citation styles, such as APA, that show you how to cite the use of AI in your research. Bottom line, we encourage you to consult with your professors, your advisors, and the people in your department advising your research to inquire about how AI is either discouraged or encouraged in your department. So it might vary. And just have conversations about it. I will turn it over to Rosie now, who will go into more depth about how to get started with your research and conduct online research using our tools.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is give you just a very broad overview of accessing library resources. There may be a subject librarian or liaison who comes to one of your classes in the future or another college orientation to give you some guidance that's more specific to your particular discipline. What we tried to do here is pull together what we think is the most helpful advice to the broadest collection of folks here. So, of course, we would love for you to come see us in person at the library. But majority of things that you can do in person, you can do from any location on or off campus. So that includes accessing our journal article and ebook subscriptions, our databases, and the research guides that are created by our liaison librarians. You can meet with your liaison to discuss your research, learn how to use a citation manager, talk about data management if you need to develop a data management plan, for example. And then you can email or use chat reference to get help from a librarian as well. Next slide, please. Okay. The rule of thumb, the most important thing to remember when you're looking for full text of articles, ebooks, mostly scholarly journal articles is what I'm talking about. The rule of thumb is just go to the library website first. This is your home base. Um, wherever you are on or off campus, if you start at the library homepage, you'll be routed through the correct path to get access to our subscriptions. We get the question sometimes, do you need a VPN? You don't. Just go to the library website first and do your searching from there, no matter what resource you're using, and you'll be safe. Wherever you go, you're looking for a Find It at UIC button. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. Next slide, please. So this is our library homepage. Down at the bottom is the main search box, which you can use to look for books, you can look for articles, or you can search everything all at once. Next slide. If you search for something and you click into an article, you'll see this available online link here if we have the article in full text, and you would click on this. It's not totally self-evident. You would click on that Springer Link Journals link to view it. So that's just the name of the company that we get the article from. Below that is a link to request an item via interlibrary loan, but that's only if we don't have that item. So when you click into an item in that main search box, you're looking for this link under View Online. Next slide, please. In the center of the library homepage is this menu of important links. You've got a link to databases, which is an alphabetical list of all, I forget how many we have, 400 databases through the library. So if you know the name of the one you want, you can click right to it. Journals, if there's a specific journal you're looking for by name. Guides, those are the subject research guides that our liaison librarians put together for each subject area. If you're in the life sciences or health sciences, you will become or are already very familiar with PubMed. Again, PubMed is a free online database, but you want to use this link on our website to get connected to our subscriptions. Browsing, you can check out if you would like to subscribe to a particular journal and get the issues pushed to your device whenever there's a new issue. And the catalog, of course, if you're looking for books. Next slide, please. If you are a Google Scholar user, again, it's a free website, but one of my top pieces of advice to grad students is always to go from our library homepage to databases, that E to Z list, find Google Scholar and bookmark that link because that's a special institutional UIC version of Google Scholar that will connect you to all of our subscriptions. And I have it in my favorites bar. I use it almost every day. If you have the title of a source and you want to check for full text, in my opinion, that's the fastest way to do that. So if you use Google Scholar, definitely make sure you use the UIC databases link. Next slide. This is what it looks like when you do a Google Scholar link. You'll see over on the right-hand side, get full text at UIC. You can click that to get the PDFs, or if we don't have PDFs, there will be a little request at UIC link underneath the article that will fill out an interlibrary loan request form for you. Next slide, please. Okay, this is an article in PubMed. If I have clicked into PubMed, done a search, looking at this article, I will see a couple links in the top right-hand corner where it says full text links. The first one will be a publisher link. The second one is Find It at UIC. That's the one you always want to click when you see it because that will search all of our subscriptions. It's kind of like if you were searching for a particular movie online and you don't know which streaming service it's in. You don't know what publisher we necessarily get an article through. Just click on Find It at UIC and that'll search everything for you. Next slide, please. Okay, sorry, that's a duplicate. I already did that. Let's go to the next one. Oh, I guess that's just to show what the interlibrary loan request form looks like. Don't ever pay for an article or even a book. We can usually get most things for free for you on your behalf through interlibrary loan. Another, this is a browser extension you can install for the main browsers that will connect you to UIC subscriptions. It adds this download PDF link, so it just makes it even easier to get full text of things. Just do a search for UIC LibKey or UIC LibKey Nomad, and it'll take you to the library page that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to install it. It's very simple. So LibKey or LibKey Nomad. There you go. There's the arrow. Okay. The other thing that I always tell graduate students, no matter what college or discipline or department you're in, is I always like to talk about citation searching. So, as Annie mentioned earlier, scholarship and research, your scholarly activity, it's all a conversation. So, as graduate students, you are becoming part of this conversation, you're entering the conversation, and you really want to become an expert on it yourself, right? So, the way that scholars track the conversation around a given topic is through citations. Citation searching is an important skill to have as a graduate student. It just means following the references from a publication to identify additional literature relevant to that research topic or to follow the full thread of conversation. Some would say the bibliography is where the real research begins. There's two kinds of citation searching, backwards and forwards. Backward searching, we all sort of do already automatically or naturally. It's when you're reading an article or a book, reading a publication, and you see a citation that looks interesting or relevant to you. You look at the bibliography at the end. Next slide, please. I think there's an arrow there. Yeah, that's all that is. To follow that citation and see who they cited. The other part of the picture is forward citation searching. So this is using a tool called a citation index to see who has cited your publication of interest since it came out. So here, for example, is an article called Closing the Gap in a Generation, which came out in 2008. This is a pretty well-known framework describing the social determinants of health. If I did a forward citation search on that publication since 2008, as I said, it's very well known. It came out 18 years ago. It's been cited many, many times. So I can look through those articles to see how did the conversation continue after that framework was published? How has it been applied? Has it been refuted? How did that scholarly conversation go on? And through that forward citation searching, this is just an example. I find an article where this very general sort of seminal work on the social determinants of health, that framework was applied to a very specific population study in Canada. Just as an example, this is a way to maybe sometimes your PI or your advisor might give you an article and say, this is really, these are the authors that you need to know. And then you can use forward citation searching to see how they've been cited, how they've been used, how others have incorporated their thoughts and their foundations into subsequent research and scholarship. Next slide, please. Okay, so Google Scholar, again, use the library version. This is a citation index. There's a few different ways you can do it. Google Scholar's just the easiest. If you look up an article in Google Scholar, you'll see at the bottom there, I think if you click forward, it'll put a circle or an arrow. Thank you. It'll say cited by and then a number. So since this article was published 10 years ago, it's been cited 68 times. And I would just click on that cited by 68 to see that list of articles. So especially as you get into your special topics, if you're doing a dissertation or a thesis, the more niche you get with your research, you really want to familiarize yourself with everybody because it tends to be not a big, group of people. You want to know everybody and everything that's been done on this topic, everyone who's working on this. And citation searching is how you do that. So you're looking at the bibliography at the end of every article or book chapter or book that you read, and you're doing forward citation searching using Google Scholar. That's another thing that you can definitely use our chat or make an appointment with a librarian, with your liaison if you'd like to know more about how to do that. Next slide, please. I think I mostly said all this already, but yeah, where are the gaps? What do we know? How do various perspectives on this topic support or diverge from one another? Yeah, I think I said all that. Next slide, please. Visiting the library in person, we have Library of the Health Sciences locations in Chicago, Peoria, and Rockford. The library in Peoria also serves the colleges that are in Urbana and Springfield. So our libraries in Chicago are very large, lots of room to study. We have individual study spaces as well as group study rooms. In the Library of the Health Sciences on West Campus, we have the Little Sparks Family Study Space, which is a room that you can access that has uh, for students who are also parents. They can bring their kids. There's kids' books. There's comfortable furniture. And you would look up the Little Sparks program if you want more information on how to access that. We have exam guides, anatomical models, other things that you can check out, course reserves in print. We still do have a number of those that you can't get electronically, so we keep those in print. Obviously, you can print if you need to print a paper or a resource, you can use our computers. And the Digital Scholarship Hub in Daily Library on East Campus has things like 3D printers and large poster printers and lots of cool stuff. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to reiterate, please do reach out to us at any time for help. It's what we're here for, to support your research so that you don't spend a whole Saturday trying to find full text. We help facilitate your access to the information so that you can just get right in and start engaging with these big ideas that you're working on. And I believe that's it. There might be one more slide, but that's our time. So we thank you very much. We appreciate you having us. Welcome to UIC, and we're looking forward to working with you at the library.
Yes, and we will be at the Graduate Student Fair, so we can talk to you if you have any questions and give you the business card of the liaison for your discipline, just so that you know who that is.
Thank you so much, Rosie and Annie. We do have one question in the Q&A on how to complete the process of interlibrary loan. Would you just have a few moments to briefly highlight that?
Sure. Interlibrary loan, if you go to the library homepage, you'll see My Accounts, and that will lead you to setting up an interlibrary loan account. You need your iCard, which has your library number on the front of it. And then when you're searching for resources, either books in the catalog or articles in a database, if you click that Find It at UIC button, and we don't have the item, it'll automatically take you to an interlibrary loan request form. So I would recommend that you go ahead, library website, My Accounts, and set up interlibrary loan, and then you'll be naturally routed to it if you ever want to request an item that we don't have. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And students, if you have any other questions, please feel free to visit their website and use all of the contact methods they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to keep moving on our agenda. And next up is going to be Ben Williams. He is our Director of Fellowships and Awards here in the Graduate College, and he's going to share just a very brief taste of funding resources for you. And always keep in mind, there's so much more information, but Ben will give you as much as he can in 20 minutes.
Thank you, Jamie. And someone else is sharing. I need there. Let's see. We're going to try this now. There we go. Well, as a former high-frequency user of the library, it's always a pleasure to go after them. Okay. Am I sharing my slides?
Yes, we see your fellowships office slide.
All right. Let's hope this works correctly. First of all, thank you everyone for having me. I'm Ben Williams, Director of Fellowships and Awards, and a one-man office. If there's one thing you learned today, it is to look for my weekly funding email. It comes out most Fridays at 11:15 a.m. A lot of the materials that are in today's presentation actually will pop up periodically or always in my funding email. I have several groups of stakeholders. You are most concerned with me. I work with graduate students, I work with graduate programs, I work with the Office of Financial Aid, I work with external funding agencies. And just as a very quick clarification, I am not the Office of Financial Aid. That is an entirely different office, which is huge, and I am one. So, in terms of internal funding, we have over a dozen different internal competitions that I direct. I also direct a number of limited competitions. If, for example, if UIC only is allowed to have 3 people apply for something, I often will run a competition. Again, liaise with financial aid. I handle a lot of tuition and fee waivers, not the waivers attached to employment, but those attached to grants or fellowships. In terms of external funding, I'm coordinating official for the NSF GRFP. I am the institutional advisor for a number of external federal and non-federal funding opportunities. Again, the weekly funding email. It goes out to over 14,000 people. There are only approximately 7,000 grad students at UIC, and so you'll notice that alumni like to continue to receive the email, as do colleagues at other universities. What else? I do department and college outreach. For example, I believe it's Wednesdays, September 16th, I am presenting to the departments of history and sociology. I'm doing that one in person. Writing, I have created and taught GC 513. Dr. Eddington mentioned GC 513. It is back. It is live. It is taking students. It is a way to get funding for yourself. Uh, After me will come the Student Success Group, and I work very closely with Lindsay Marshall when it comes to good writing. Are our students successful? Definitely. Our students bring in millions of dollars in stipends and external grants and fellowships. What else? If you want to know where the money is in terms of the grad college, like I said, we have about a dozen competitions. This is a list. If you see something in green, that means a fellowship. That means money plus a tuition waiver. If you see something that is in that kind of orange-brown thing, that is simply money, only money. Oh gosh, it is an award. I will be updating the webpage with all of those deadlines later this week. Some important grad college pages and links. Everyone needs more links. If you're new to grad school, this is probably very overwhelming, but you are listening, you're taking ownership, and you can go to our overview. This tries to explain things, especially for the new student who might be scratching their head and a little lost about what is this funding thing. GC 513, Dr. Hudgens is teaching this. She is a very gifted grant writer, and as I say here, you increase your chances of finding funding Google-fold. I've created a couple of new web pages in the last couple months, and one of them is for students who want to go abroad. This is especially important for the humanities, sometimes for the social sciences, and often even for the hard sciences. You need to go abroad for to do your research or to learn a new method or technique, and so we have a page to facilitate that. LinkedIn, everyone's becoming very professional. Dr. Eddington is talking about networking, so I added this link this morning. We have a curated list of higher ed news on our grad college LinkedIn page. Tips and tricks about funding. Again, with you in mind, we have consolidated, curated lists of with it in our toolbox, and that became so overwhelming that I created a second page with grant writing resources, links to articles, to books, to all kinds of resources to make your life easier when it comes to finding funding. What can you do? Well, you can look, you can prepare, and you can plan ahead. So, the weekly funding email, talk to your colleagues in your department, talk to the older students, those who have been in the program longer. How are they funded? What kind of challenges have they faced? What tips do they have in terms of finding funding for your degree? You might want to join a professional organization because there is often money available through a professional organization. Get prepared. It's always good to have a a CV that is kept up to date. And if you hear me give a presentation, you'll hear me talk about the kitchen sink CV. This is the unformatted, junky looking place where you just put everything, every presentation you give, every talk that you give, every article that you write or book review you write, you just dump it there so you don't forget. It's kind of your personal archive, and then you can spin off CVs as you need later in your career. I also am a strong proponent of spreadsheets as a means of keeping track of different funding opportunities. And this is a skill that will serve you well later in your grad college career when you are applying for jobs and you're trying to keep straight. How do I keep straight all of these different jobs I'm applying to? Have a spreadsheet. It's very easy. And then plan ahead. In that spreadsheet, you'll have your templates, your keywords, and just make your life easier. You'll be coordinating with your peers and your letter writers, giving everyone plenty of time. So finding funding is hard. I know very much so firsthand. I was an unfunded grad student back in the day, and so I work really hard to try to help students find their funding. And I think if you treat it as a part-time job, even if it's only 2 hours a week, it will put you in a better spot when it comes to finding funding when you really need it. I went really fast, Jamie, and so I'm happy to cede the floor and or take questions. When you say funding, is this mostly geared toward PhD students? Great question, Ariel. Yes, PhD students are in programs longer. They need more money, especially for research. So while the short answer is yes, there are graduate students who are doing research that does require funding. And so, for example, our internal awards, we have the Award for Graduate Research, we have the Provost Visiting Scholar Award. Many of these are open to graduates, to master students. And so if you are doing research, especially for a thesis, you may need to go somewhere or you may need some extra money to do something. And so that those are available to you as well. Let's see. UPass distribution. Is it possible to go quickly back to the awards fellowship slide? Of course. Let me reshare my screen.
And we are recording today, so folks will be able to go back and find all of this very helpful information after the fact as
Okay.
well.
And let me see, GC 513, we just restarted it, and the new plan is to provide it fall and spring each term. So quickly to the list slide. Do, do, do. Yeah, we have an entire web page that link there. The Graduate College Fellowships has all of these, and I will be updating deadlines again in the next 10 days or so. Okay. Is GC 513 class geared towards specific disciplines, STEM or humanities? I don't believe so. I think it is, um, perhaps it is geared to humanities and social sciences, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Hudgens would uh, welcome anyone from the sciences as well. I will say that in the hard sciences, you are blessed with a culture. Um, for example, in the biomedical fields, your prelims are often a rough draft of an NIH grant, and then so you have plenty of advising for that. In some of the physical sciences, you already have the culture of applying for the NSF GRFP, which is now limited to first year students, sadly. Would things like media effects experiment surveys usually require funding? I'm not sure what media effects means, but we definitely have a lot of students who apply for funding for um, funding for surveys, gift cards, that kind of thing. As grad students, are we automatically enrolled in weekly funding emails? Yes, you are now. Fabulously. Let's see. Am I missing anything? Are those funding opportunities also open to international PhD students? Excellent question. In terms of grad college funding, everything is open to international students except for the some of the recruitment fellowships, which is kind of moot because you're already here. In terms of external funding, it really depends. We don't set the parameters. Parameters are set by the funding agencies. Excellent question. Dear grad school team, I'm sure. I won't be able to put links in the chat right now, but perhaps I can dump them in the next presentation. MSN, I have no idea. You'll have to ask your graduate program about the pinning ceremony. Can you help us navigate NSF GRFP eligibility? As soon as the solicitation comes out, I can help you. We're still waiting. TFW. Oh, sorry, tuition and fee waiver. How soon can incoming PhD students be nominated for internal UIC fellowships? First semester, if you have a project. Anything for online students? Great question. That is a tough one. Online students, if I'm not mistaken, often don't have research projects, so it probably does not make sense to apply for our funding. But regardless of discipline, I encourage you to look at the weekly funding email. Because funding agencies don't necessarily know that you are online or not. And so it's really more discipline specific. Um, that's how I would answer that question. Not sure what Monica's question is. Okay. Anything else? Kick me off, Jamie?
I'm sure more questions will always roll in, right? But
About funding? Never, never. I never have questions about funding.
But Ben is a wealth of information, so we always encourage students to reach out to him. I believe he shared his contact information with you as well. So thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Welcome, everyone.
All right. Let me share just for a moment again. All right. Next up, we are going to move on to the student services team in the Graduate College. That is led by Teresa. I don't know if she had logged on just yet, but I do see Vin from her team as well. Vin, can I hand it off to you?
That was not my expectation, but I can always fill in.
Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
There she is.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, go ahead and give us 15 seconds of, the best jokes you've got, and we'll let Teresa get situated.
Dude, well, I'm not really good for jokes, Jamie. That was, I was put on the spot and I was like, okay, I can do academics, but now you're asking me to be a stand-up comedian. I don't
No
know if I can
academic
do it.
jokes? Oh, okay.
And sometimes I get stuff from my kids, but I'm like blanking because I didn't expect a joke. Um,
That's okay. We can always fix
yeah.
it. Hi, Teresa. All right, we will hand it off to Teresa and
Good
team.
morning. Oh, we're starting early. Okay, great.
Yes, we are ahead of schedule.
Oh,
It's
wow, that's
impressive.
nice. Yeah, wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to UIC. Welcome to the Graduate College. My name is Teresa Christensen Caballero, and I'm the Ex executive director. Yes, I guess that changed. Of graduate student success. I've been here at UIC for 23 years, a long time. I was once in the seat that you are in. I remember coming in as a graduate student from California. Anybody from California? That's where I'm from. Originally, LA area, Pasadena specifically. And I remember just being overloaded with the amount of things that I had to learn in a very short time, and also trying to kind of navigate Chicago, trying to navigate UIC. And I remember it being a very unsettled moment, a very exciting moment, but a very unsettled moment. So I'm going to start sharing some slides and let my team also introduce themselves. We're going to talk a little bit about what we do here and how we're here to support you in the graduate college. So let me get those up for you. All right, there's our profesh slide. There's our UIC slide. Um, so I'm going to say a little bit about what I do, and then I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay and Vincent to share more about the things that we do on this team. But our main thing here is that we're here to support you in many aspects of the things that you're going to do in your graduate student career here. We're here as a listening ear if you're trying to make decisions within your department. We are here as someone outside of your department because sometimes we know within our programs and talking to our advisors, sometimes we're kind of scared to ask some of the questions that we might have. So we are this kind of objective ear to be here to kind of listen. Um, I specifically work with students on their career and professional development, talking about their research, doing advising in general about your journey in graduate school and what you're going to do after that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Um, and also, I just want to mention before I pass it over to know that, like, you're not going to remember everybody that you hear from today or all week. You're not going to remember all the slides and information. But if you just note where it's at, you can go and find it later. I know this week can be overwhelming. I know there's multiple orientations, and sometimes you're going to hear people a couple of times. But just to know that it's there, just know that it's there and you can come to it when you need it. And we're definitely here for you in that very first week to the very end when you're finishing your master's thesis, your dissertation, and beyond. So I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay to introduce them themselves. And then, oh, and I use she, her, a pronouns. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. Go ahead, Lindsay, and then we'll pass it over to Vin.
Thank you, Teresa. Good morning, everyone. Really glad to be here. Orientation's always a really exciting day. I mean, Teresa mentioned that you have many orientations, so I know that feels overwhelming. So we really appreciate you giving us your time and listening to what we have to say, and we can't wait to listen to you too, which is a big part of what we do as the graduate student success team. My name is Lindsay Marshall. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a UIC PhD alum. I got my PhD in the English department, and I work with students, graduate students specifically, some undergrads too sometimes, but primarily graduate students on their writing and on some communication that might be difficult from the beginning of their graduate studies, as Teresa said, all the way to the end. The team of the three of us are here, as is the grad college, for your entire time during your graduate studies. So one of the things that I can just say quickly about my job is that I was a person who really loved writing or thought that I was okay at writing until I got to graduate school. And grad school, unfortunately, made me think differently about writing and be a lot more intimidated by it. I got a lot of anxiety produced around different writing assignments, and that may be the case for some of you or maybe not for some of you, but whether you really love writing or really don't love it, part of my job as the writing specialist and academic advisor is to help with writing and with communication. Teresa mentioned it's really tough to know how to communicate sometimes with your professors, with your committee members, with your PIs, and with your advisors. And even though that's not directly writing related, that's also something that I talk with graduate students a lot about in my daily role. Not sure if I missed anything, but I know we'll have more to say. Thank you so much for being here today and excited to get to know you.
Hi everyone. Sorry I bombed on the joke, so I'm just gonna go past that. My name is Vincent Auditory. You all can call me Vin, so VIN is fine from here. He, him pronouns. I, like Lindsay, am also a PhD alum of UIC. So I got my PhD in English literature as well. Lindsay didn't say this, but she and I were both in the same cohort. So Lindsay and I have known each other for quite some time. And we know, as well as Teresa, we know UIC pretty well. And we all know UIC well as graduate students ourselves. And so one of the things I really like to acknowledge on a day like today is that we, as the graduate student success team, and I don't want to stick to it exclusively because I've been here since the beginning and I've heard Dean Eddington, I've heard Dean Haney, I've heard Ben Williams, and I've heard the librarians all say very consistent things. So that's like, to me, it's really exciting to hear over an hour worth of information and feel like I'm part of a larger team than just these three people. But this is your graduate student success team. And within the graduate college, we do our best to meet whatever needs students have. And in our own experiences, we know a little bit about that, but just like Lindsay was referring to, we're here to listen as well. And so as we go through our slides, we'll show you some of the workshops and other programs that we have set up for the semester, but we will also always have time to listen to what we're missing or things that are emerging that we're not aware of, or helping you, much like Dean Eddington was talking about too, kind of network, and Dean Haney was talking about. If it's not us, we can usually find somebody who can help with whatever it is you're struggling with, or maybe not even struggling with, just like succeeding at, and you want to share it more or whatever. And so there's going to be plenty of opportunities for that. Welcome everybody to UIC. We'll continue with the slides, and you'll learn more about what we're doing.
All right. I love that, Nitvin. Thank you. Thinking about being this connection point. So if you don't know where to go, you probably heard this multiple times today. Come to the graduate college and we'll help you figure out where. Right now, maybe for some, and some of you are coming back. Some of you are undergrads navigating this now as graduate students, maybe at UIC, and some of you are coming from other places all over the world or in the US, and it might be new in different ways for different folks. But we also know that the graduate lens is different than the undergraduate lens. There's different offices that deal with things. There's different ways of handling things. So even if you're coming as an undergraduate student again to UIC, then there's still things to learn. All right, so this is one of my favorite slides, and the team knows this because we consider ourselves your backup band. Some of us are actual musicians in the past, some of us not, maybe aspiring musicians, but obviously this is a metaphor for thinking you are the main singer, you are the main performer. We're here to get you to that performance, and that performance is graduate school, right? That performance is finishing your degree. That's why you came here. So these are the things that we actually do. We're talking kind of broadly as we introduce ourselves about the things that we're doing, but this is what we do. We're going to show you some of the workshops that we have coming up for the semester in a minute. Lindsay mentioned the one-on-one academic advising, a lot of coaching. What do we coach around? Well, I'm thinking about an internship. I'm thinking about a job. I'm thinking about applying for this. I'm thinking about applying for fellowships, grants, and proposals. I need help. I'm writing this in a course or I'm writing this proposal, right? I don't want to go through the whole list, but think of all the different kinds of things around coaching, your presentation skills. In a minute, Vin's going to talk about a great competition that we do here to help you with those presentation skills. Also, I do a lot of practice with students around how do I network? How do I build community? How do I build that professional community? Because this starts now, y'all. This does not start in the 2 years or the 5 years down the road when you start looking for a job, right? The networks and the programs and the clubs and the things that you're involved in now are going to be really impactful as you're looking towards your future careers. And also, we care about you. We care about your wellness. So these are some things. Any notes, Lindsay or Vin, on kind of generally the what we do portion of this?
No, you got it.
Okay, great. I don't know why my slides are moving. There we go. And then, Lindsay, do you want to speak to the sessions that we have coming up soon?
Sure. Yeah, we have sessions starting right away, and every Wednesday they will always be in the same place at the same time. Some are hybrid. Many are, you always have an in-person option, or mostly will have an in-person option. But this is a space where um, students can get together with us as the graduate student success team and talk about some of the issues that you might be wondering about or have questions about. So we begin by answering some of those questions. You can posit questions ahead of this session, but basically our Wednesday workshops are for you. Vin and Teresa have done a really remarkable job of developing that content in conversation with students and drawing on what students have said they might be interested in knowing more about or learning more about. So you'll see when Teresa shows the kind of poster for the events we have planned for this semester so far, that the Wednesday sessions, again, here in University Hall, room 650, cover a really wide range of topics from career development to mentoring to academic hidden curriculum, which is something new grad students might always be interested in knowing more about. So they're great. Highly recommend you come, and you'll be getting notifications each week about these sessions from us as they come up on the calendar.
Thank you, Lindsay. So note that now, right? Wednesdays, 12 to 1:30. If you don't have a course, if you have other things going on, try to block off that time in your schedule. There's a lot of rich information. What do you guys mean by the hidden curriculum, you might say? What are you talking about? Well, maybe those are the things that you're not going to hear in your sessions in your departments. Maybe your advisor's not going to talk about. Maybe other colleagues aren't going to talk about because people are embarrassed to bring up questions sometimes that they have about things. This is the things that you should know about graduate school that maybe no one's going to tell you. And it's going to be an open space for questions. So we invite you on the 26th. That's going to be our first session. And then our second one is going to be giving you like mini sessions to see what these workshops will be all about on the second. All right, Vin, do you want to talk a little bit more about some of the other things we have coming up this semester?
Sure. So one of the things I didn't mention, I didn't like in my introduction, I didn't tell everybody that I'm a program director and the communication and professional development advisor. I just kind of skipped over that. Uh, so for those of you who don't know, I taught a class in the graduate college before, as Ben was talking about GC 513. There's also a graduate college class called GC 512, which was titled Principles and Practices of Writing for Graduate Students. And I taught that class for 7 or 8 years. And in the past 2 years, I've stopped teaching that class and we've started to offer these workshops. So they are ongoing, as everybody just told you, from Wednesday from 12 to 1:30, 601 South Morgan, 650 UH, or Zoom or Zoom. And so some of these are repeats, and then there are some that will be new this semester. So these are topics that we all, as graduate success team members, believe to be valuable to students. We try to cover communication things, so writing in the academic realm, getting you more comfortable writing academically, trying to address everyone's concerns that I don't write like a scholar or an academic, or dealing with and negotiating. When I say dealing with, I don't mean in a negative way, right? But negotiating and kind of managing the feedback that you'll get from your peers or your advisors. How do I as a student, a kind of emerging scholar, how do I deal with somebody telling me you don't know how to write, or you really need to work on this, or something like that, right? So these workshops are meant to address a whole host of things that we feel graduate students will encounter and have to negotiate and manage in some way. So that, for me, and I'll just kind of speak a little bit about what I focus on when I do these workshops. I focus a lot on communication, right? So that can be reading, right? Because that literature is supposed to be communicating to you, right? And if there's a kind of mismatch and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I don't even understand this stuff. A lot of what I try to do is to demonstrate to you, you know what, it's probably not you or your reading skills. It may very well be the kind of density of the literature, and everybody kind of runs into this problem. In no way should you feel ashamed of it or exclusive to it. And so this is exactly what myself and my teammates try to sit with graduate students about. Is that's fine, you feel uncomfortable, but let's not feel so uncomfortable next time, right? And so that's why we focus on getting comfortable in graduate school, because we know a lot of these topics will be uncomfortable. Hidden curriculum. Wait a minute, why didn't I know this, right? Mentor or advisor saying to me, you don't know how to write. And you saying, well, I've made it to graduate school. Obviously, I can, right? And so Lindsay, Teresa, and I will help you to negotiate. Wait a minute. It's not that you can't write. You can work on X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever the case might be. So it's reading and writing for me is a lot of kind of what I try to focus on, right? I can assume that you all know how to read, but what are we getting out of our reading? How much time are we spending doing it? And so on and so forth. One of my new workshops this semester And I really appreciated what Annie had to say about AI and research. In the graduate college, I am trying my best to be a kind of a person that students can come to and talk with about AI and kind of where it fits into academic reading and writing. Again, things have shifted a lot since I started teaching graduate level students. So you can very easily take an academic essay and pump it into Gemini or Claude or whatever, and it can give you a really nice and pretty accurate summary. But I'm going to sit there and tell you not to do that, right? And it's going to be like, well, why not, right? And so some of this stuff is important to kind of sit down and kind of discuss over. And so one of the new workshops this semester, it's in October. Prompt engineering for research is October the 7th. Myself and Shannon Redden, who's our IT guy in the graduate college, we will be team facilitating this. And we will have a workshop on how best to prompt an AI tool to help you to do some research. So if you would have asked me a year or two ago, I would have said, don't use AI. Here I am saying to you, let's talk about how to use it. And let's kind of figure out what's beneficial and what's not. So you can see there's a bunch of, there's all kinds of great workshops. It's consistent, which is to say 12 to 1:30, same place. We're doing our best to reach as many students as possible. Come to the workshops, drop in, come to Zoom, come in person, tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your faculty, share this. It's up on the website, so grad.uic.edu. You can see all of this here under events. Teresa has a beautiful poster that we'll put up around as well. QR codes are for registration. That's mostly just to kind of let us know how many people are coming so that we can be best prepared and to kind of keep numbers for us. So please try to register. And it's really just simple, just kind of information. I think that's about it. I'll pay attention to Q&A. We'll see if Lindsay and Teresa want to say anything more.
Great. Thanks, Finn. That was
Mhm.
super thorough. Again, go to the Graduate College website. All of the links to sign up for these are on there. If there's a workshop we're not doing that you want, you can also let us know, and we are happy to create one, and maybe you'll see that in spring. All right. The fun stuff, y'all. We do fun stuff too. We have a welcome back dessert picnic. You can have cupcakes, Italian ice. There are going to be vegan, gluten-free options, sugar-free options as well for folks with different dietary needs. The highlights, meeting Sparky, fun. Officer Ham's going to be there as well. That's why I have them on the slide. This is last year's picnic. So mark your calendars as well. That will start a little early, 11:30 to 1:30. And fun, we have a fun swag surprise. There's going to be resources from all over campus. So sign up for that today or sometime before the 9th and mark in your calendars to stop by the University Hall on. Where is that, y'all? That is that building right there. Maybe this is new language. People are going to use building names. And so University Hall is at 601 South Morgan Street, and it's the tallest building on campus, on East Campus. So just to know when we're saying University Hall, that's what we mean. So come on by. We're going to have a fun picnic, fun giveaways. And also, this is an opportunity to meet other graduate students and hang out. Come out with your colleagues and your friends from your departments as well. Something I want to mention really quickly as we're closing in on time and we want to leave a little time at the end is this is the time to start. I know your professional development. You're like, I'm just starting graduate school, but this is the time. We're going to have a workshop on doing individual development plans. Maybe you've already done that, but basically it's mapping out what am I going to be doing in this next year, this next 2 years, for some of us, this next 5 years, and how am I going to plan this out? What am I going to do? Where do I want to go? What do I value? What do I need? And how do I need to talk to my advisor about this? So I invite you to go use these tools. They're free. Imagine PhD and MyIDP. We're going to be talking more about this in our workshops, or something that's really important for your professional development. And maybe you have a little time now. So check these out, see what they're about. The QR code is there, and I'm going to keep going through. All right, then quickly, I think we have about 2 minutes for this on 3
Yeah,
minutes.
sure. Yep. 3-minute thesis is a competition that we hold at UIC in the spring. This will be our 10th year, if I remember correctly. So this will be the 10th year of us offering it here at UIC. Thanks to Teresa, who brought it to UIC. I help to run it now with Teresa. It asks, you can be PhD or MA, it doesn't, or MS, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a PhD student here. Can you communicate your research in 3 minutes? That's it. That's all you get is 3 minutes. And there are prizes for it. So cash prizes, as well as an opportunity to go to the regional and ultimately maybe the national competition to compete with your fellow graduate students. We hold a couple of different information sessions about it to let you know a little bit more, kind of get into the details about it. Those will come at the very end of the fall semester. And then, or at the very beginning of the spring, we'll kind of figure that out. So at the very beginning of the spring semester, right as things get started, that's when we'll hold some information meetings, as well as then research storytelling workshops. So you will learn more about this for sure if you're interested in it. I encourage all of you to at least learn about this and maybe participate. Come to the workshops and learn more about the competition. And even if you decide that you don't want to compete, learn how better to communicate your research with those who are not in your own field, right? Who are not familiar with the research that you're doing, and learn how do I communicate the value of my research to people who may not know anything or much about air pollution or electricity transfer or cancer research or whatever it is that you're going to do here at UIC. You can see some of our previous winners. It's a brilliant fun, as Teresa said, this is a fun moment. It might seem stressful to some of you because, of course, you need to stand in front of people and talk, but it can be a lot of fun. And Aditi, Angela, and Heather, all winners that I know, I think, I'm going to speak for them just for a moment, they had a lot of fun doing what they're doing. And then if you do win, you get to come back and judge for the next year too. So that's another fun piece of it. So yeah, 3MT, that's in the spring. Look for more information about it. 3-minute thesis competition.
And even people who haven't won, y'all, they've talked about how important it's been in getting internships, getting other awards and fellowships, and also getting jobs. The learning how to talk to their about their research to a lay audience, it's been really important. These are just examples of our flyers. In the spring, you also have to look forward to a fun Graduate Appreciation Week. The Plant and Flourish event we have had for the last 2 years has been very popular if you're a plant person, but we tend to have food, we have fidget toys, we have conference presentation skills, networking, lots of different events, but a lot of them are fun, creative, and exciting for spring. So go ahead and look out for that. We'll be putting more information out in the spring about Grad Appreciation Week. That's also some of our programming and our beautiful students that have come to these programs. Really quickly to note before we end, want to invite students to sign up for UIC Convocation. We're trying to get the biggest circle, UIC circle that has ever existed. And that's going to happen on the 26th. Why should I go? There's going to be a ton of people. There's a lot going on. Well, number one, free t-shirts and free hats. That's always fun. And number two, free food. So go ahead and sign up for this. If you want to come by, you get a free t-shirt, a free hat, and there's going to be a giant picture that's taken for this. More information I'm sure you got on your UIC email as well this week. There's also going to be a field day that Graduate College is collaborating with the College of Business. There's going to be long games, giveaways, etc. on Friday, August 28th, 5 to 7 on the University Hall on. And here's the QR code for that. We'll be sending emails out, so don't worry about jotting all this down or, oh, I can't pull out my QR code right now, Teresa, what do I do? We'll be sending out information about the big, fun, welcome events that are going on. Just a little over time, but we want to give Lindsay, go ahead and maybe the last comment, something to think about before we end.
Yeah, it's just really important for you to know that we're here, and to kind of be helpful, hopefully, with a variety or range of things you might face during graduate studies, both successes and things that you're wishing could go a little bit differently. We are here. We keep things in confidence, and we are just really excited to get to meet you and talk with you. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Great. Well, sorry, we're about 2 minutes over, but thank you for having us. We'll stick around for a minute, or I know I will, to answer questions in the chat if there's any questions. And yeah, happy orientation. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Teresa, Lindsay, Vin. We appreciate all you do and your time this morning sharing all the information. Just a verbal reminder to everybody, we are recording, so all of this information will be available again on our website by the end of this week. At this point, we are going to take a brief 5-minute break just to give folks a chance to stand up, stretch, move around. That includes you and that includes us. So I'm going to set a timer and we will see you all back here in 5 minutes for the graduate student Q&A and current student panel. All right, that's 5 minutes and we are back. And we are going to get on with possibly the most interesting and exciting part of our morning. We have a small group of current graduate students here at UIC who are going to share their experiences with you and answer, I won't say any of your questions, but hopefully most of your questions as they're able to. So if you do have questions, go ahead and keep using that Q&A feature here in Zoom. That'll help us kind of moderate, all of the questions. And if we get the same question a bunch, then we can make sure that we get that question to our panelists. We have Troy from political science today. We have Io, sorry if I am mispronouncing that. Hold on, actually, now I've lost my list. There we go. Okay, Io is from nursing. I believe Stephanie may have not logged in yet, but Stephanie is from psychology. And we have Eduardo from biological sciences. So welcome to all four of you. I think, why don't we go ahead and start with sort of a brief introduction. If each of you just wants to give we could say like 3-minute thesis, right? Maybe we'll make it like a 1-minute introductory thesis about who you are, where you're from, kind of what you're studying, and why you chose UIC. And let's start with Troy.
Good morning, everyone. Um, my name is Troy Gaston. I guess I want to start with why I came in UIC in the political science department and choosing political science. Um, I thought that UIC just had so much diversity, segregated environment all of my life, basically in Chicago, Inglewood neighborhood. I just I just love seeing just the beauty of everybody and from different cultural backgrounds still getting along and having peace on the campus, right? And seeing staff interact when I came to like do like the boot camp aspect of getting into the PhD program. My school, Roosevelt, brought us here and we got to interact with staff and professors too. So I also liked it that. Um, my study is the politics of political legitimacy. I do a reassessment of authority, governance, power itself. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Troy. Io, you are next on my screen, so I'm just going to move on to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is Ayo Badunde. I'm a PhD candidate at the College of Nursing. I guess I'm either fourth or fifth year. You lose track after a while. But my background is in mental health nursing. Um, I am working on my dissertation, qualitative study on the experiences of victims of firearm violence, as well as their caregivers throughout recovery. Full disclosure, I started out working at UI Health, and one of the perks of working full time at UI Health was that you get a tuition waiver for UIC. So that was one of the reasons why I came. But also, I was really interested in some of the faculty, the research that the faculty at the College of Nursing was doing. So I kind of wanted to have my hand in that too. But also the diversity as well. I mean, I don't know. You guys will see if you haven't already been on campus. It's just a really diverse student body and faculty. I don't know. I think I answered all the questions. So,
Excellent. Thank you, Io. And sorry, there's a few of us all in the room together. So next we will have Eduardo.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eduardo. I'm a fourth year PhD candidate in biological sciences. A little bit about me. I do invasion ecology. Particularly, I look at plants, but I don't really like to go outside. So the way that works is that although I do like a lot of like environmental conservation work, it's very like statistics heavy, mapping heavy. So I use a lot of like satellite data. Um, like large scale field campaign data to kind of answer questions as to like how invasive species are becoming either like worse with climate change or how they're also, kind of like the opposite, making climate change worse, or other drivers of global change and kind of how they interact with that. So a lot of like machine learning, mapping, statistics, so very quantitative. I think what brought me to UIC is the diversity here on campus. As everybody else has mentioned, it's like a super diverse campus, especially compared to like where I did my undergrad. And so I think that when I was like picking schools, I was like very intentional of wanting to go to like a diverse school. Um, and it's not just the student body, it's the faculty too. And I think also one of the things that kind of brought me to UIC is just its location in the city. There's so many, at least like on the environmental side of things, different institutions that the university gets to work with. Like I would get to work with people at the Chicago Botanic Garden, the Morton Arboretum, for example. And I think that being in the city gives you so much access to a lot of these like cultural and scientific institutions in the area to conduct your research. And so that's kind of what brought me here.
Excellent. Thank you all. So we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Let's go ahead and address a couple of those. Nathan asks if anyone has run up against a situation where a project couldn't be completed due to funding constraints. And I know that that's definitely a current events, very critical question right now. And I don't know, Io, Troy, Eduardo, have any of you run into a situation like that?
I'm gonna say this. Yes, I've run up into situations like that with co-workers, students, right? But from a personal standpoint, I think everybody listening need to take heed to the process that was handing out through the after day, because you got to build your community when it come down to funding. Like funding is it's not going to always be about your project. It's going to be about the relationships and the work that you put into it. Another project on somebody else work sometimes, right? It's some other work that you doing about funding that you may not be connected to directly for your own work. So when it comes down to funding, I really don't look at funding like being denied on your own project that you couldn't get completed. I look at being denied funding as a process of looking into doing expanding future and further work beyond your own horizon. You got to get outside of your bubble, right, and learn some new things. It's about building relationships here. Everybody here fighting, and you got to come here. You only here because they seen the spirit in you as fighting. This is what this institution is known about, right? Getting people that's go fight. You ain't just about to sit here and think you're about to go sweet for you. No, you got to build relationships. That's what I say about funding.
Yeah, that's definitely a very challenging topic right now. So I'm not sure that we can give one straightforward, short and concise answer to that question, but we certainly appreciate it. It looks like Stephanie was able to join us. So Stephanie, could we have you introduce yourself and give just a very brief why you chose UIC, what are you studying, and those sorts of introductory details?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. So my name is Stephanie Ramos. I am currently a fifth year doctoral candidate in the Department of Psychology, more in particular in community and applied developmental. Um, what brought me to UIC, I would say, was my fellowship. So for those that aren't aware, UIC has a program called Summer Research Opportunity Program for undergraduate students. Um, so here, I was exposed while I was an undergrad at U of I, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I was able to do it my junior year summer, got to really learn about research. I really fell in love with research. So from that opportunity, I was able to apply to the fellowship. So that's pretty much what brought me here, and I'm really thankful to be here because not only is it still like I'm from the Chicago suburbs, so I was able to still stay close to my family, which was like one of the biggest things. But then it's also like the community that I had already built and the relationships I built in the psychology department.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we are so glad all of you are here. All right, we've got some great questions, so let's go ahead and dive in. This first one from Moira is about what would you guys have liked to know in your first year as a PhD student? And do you have any mistakes that you made during your first year that maybe you can caution folks about? And I'm not going to call on anybody, so I'll let you all decide.
I can answer that. I can answer that. For me, it was my lack of organization. Saving notes from your classes and, yeah, having, specific folders and being very intentional about your time. Because it's grad school is different than undergrad. Like, at least for if you're doing like a master's or a PhD, like the later years, you have a lot more free time because you're focused on your research. And so you have to be very intentional and structure your time very well. But in the beginning, I would say just being organized and not comparing yourself to your colleagues because it can be very hard. But also knowing that you belong here, you're in this program for a reason. And it's easier said than done, but imposter syndrome can be a thing. But you guys are here. You guys are in the program. You deserve to be here. But yeah, and also to look at your peers as collaborators and not as someone that you have to compete against. So yeah.
Great, thank you. We've got a question from Alana about if you have a research interest, but you don't really know how to get started investigating it, how would you recommend that students start that research process?
So I think the way I would start that process is kind of like try to narrow down that question, like whether it's like super specific or super broad, and kind of structure it as a literature review. I think that like during my first year, I had a lot of ideas and I felt like very scatterbrained about it. I'm like, wait, where am I gonna like take this research? What exactly do I want to do? So kind of like trying to like narrow that down into like one broad question that you could break down into multiple parts. And seeing what the literature has to say about that. A lot of times, a lot of these papers are going to have like suggestions for like where the field has to go in terms of like future questions to ask, different topics to investigate. And then you also kind of like see what's already been done and what still needs to be done. And I think that that helped me a lot from going like from this like huge idea that I'm like, how am I ever going to answer this? To kind of like smaller, more digestible bits that I can incorporate as different like dissertation chapters.
Thanks, Eduardo. We've got a question from Malik about how many credit hours students took in the first semester, and there's a follow-up about did you take too much? Now, I do want to offer some context in an answer for that as well. If you are going to be in an assistantship of any kind, you do need to maintain full-time enrollment status, which is a minimum of 8 credit hours. Some programs have 4 credit hour courses, some have 3, so it might be more of a 9 credit minimum for you. But that's something to keep in mind. And then posing the question to our panelists, how many credit hours did you take and how much was too much for you?
Well, I think I took 3 courses, um, and then I taught led discussion 3 courses. I think one class that I was never going to get data analytics, right? I thought if maybe I'm not a student that began class with an A, but nine times out of 10 leave with one. And maybe if I only would have taught two, led two discussion sessions instead of three, maybe I could have pulled off a in that data course, but I still doubt it. But I'm just saying, maybe if I would have had lesser workload on teaching and focusing on my studies, I felt like I probably could have done better.
All right. Ethan asks, as a student who is also coming from Urbana, what are some of the similarities or differences that stood out to you? And that one is directed to Stephanie.
I feel like there is definitely a huge shift coming from U of I going to UIC, and that's just because U of I is it's a campus town, right? So that's a little bit different. But I will say what is similar is like finding like community. I feel like there's always someone for everyone, and pretty much meaning like if you really like try to put yourself out there, and connect with other individuals, you will find, your people. And sometimes those people aren't in your department, right? So sometimes those are just your colleagues and you're looking more for like friends. Sometimes that comes from talking to other graduate students in other departments or joining like organizations. I do think it's completely different, as it's been mentioned, like undergrad to graduate school. The experience is totally different because maybe you're not on campus as much, right? Depending on, if you have a wet lab or not a wet lab. So you might be spending a lot more time on your own, which is like a very common thing as being a graduate student. It can get very lonely as well. So I will say it's just you have to put a little bit more effort, finding individuals, from that transition from like, oh, it's easy, you're around so many people all the time at U of I versus like UIC, just from the experience of even undergrad to graduate school being completely different.
All right, we had a couple of folks ask that ever-present work-life balance question. If any of you worked an outside job, either full-time or part-time, while also going to school, either full-time or part-time, and how would you balance the two? What tips and advice can you offer for that balance?
I can answer that. So when I started the program, I was working full time at UI Health, and then working full or in school full time at the College of Nursing, and I'm also a caregiver for a parent who has a disability. Would not recommend, but I survived. Um, but yeah, I think again the main thing that I learned was being very intentional about where I'm spending my time. Like, I love to binge watch, a good series, and just waste a lot of time on things that really aren't important long term. But I think if you're intentional about where you're spending your time and make sure that it's realistic, um, yeah, I think that goes a long way.
Any of our other panelists want to chime in on work-life balance?
I say one small thing. It is going to be as a particularly as a PhD candidate, if you're interested in academia, as I am, um, you're going to have a professional aspect to your course directing you towards that. So I graduated from Roosevelt University. I've been an adjunct professor there for 2 years while I'm going to school and TAing, right? And that balance, I think it comes with experience, right? I think what I went through in my first year taught me some lessons, and then you learn so much as you go on here as a student and as a TA here, and then you bridging it on to wherever you go. So, but I wouldn't advise that in your first year.
Right, thank you both. Yeah, work-life balance is definitely one of those challenging thanks to balance, right? Let's pivot a little bit and talk about classroom experiences. We have a question from Samantha about the diversity in the classrooms you might TA with, but also more generally, can you share about your interactions with students?
I could take a stab at this one. So I feel like at least in my experience, my classrooms are always like super, super diverse. And I think it's usually always a positive thing. Um, I remember like as an undergrad, I also went to UIUC. I was often like the only like minority in most of my classes, whether it was a class of like 10 people or 600 people. And it was kind of like sometimes hard to like find that sort of support system within my classes. And like as a teaching assistant, I teach an introductory bio class, biology of populations and communities. It's been really like great seeing a lot of students, come up to me and they're like, oh, like, we're super grateful that like, we have this representation in our classroom, that you understand a lot of the situations that we're going through, that, you went through, when you were an undergrad. And, I think it's really positive because it sets me in a place where I can help my students because I can relate to like a lot of their lived experiences. And it also brings in like so many different ideas, different perspectives, to the material that we're teaching. I know it's like a biology class and it's like super sciencey, but there's like a lot of cultural components that we can all kind of like bring together to make like a more like enriching discussion, and a more engaged classroom, where people like are super excited to come in and not only learn about the material, but like learn about each other and create that sort of sense of community in the classroom.
Thanks, Eduardo. Anyone else want to chime in on that? Experiences either as a student or working with other students? All right, we've got plenty more questions. So here's another one. Have any of you dealt with a situation where you realize that your advisor or collaborators may not share your research interests? And if so, how did you navigate that? Or perhaps our panelists have all been fortunate to not encounter that situation.
I can answer that. Actually, that's kind of my case now. So I will say two things. The first one is, of course, like you're all admitted students now, but I think it's important to have some type of similarity with your PI. And what that means is that maybe not like your main project, but having like side projects with them of their interest, right? So, for example, my PI does a lot of work on like neighborhoods and neighborhood safety. And that's not like my prime interest. A lot of my interest now is focused on like higher education and access and supporting Latino students. So completely different from her work. So of course I still work with her on, for me like side projects with her that are her main projects, but then she also is very supportive of helping me, continue my journey of, my interest, right? So I think it's also important like a balance, right? Like you're helping in your lab, but then also not abandoning like your interest as well. So it's just finding like the balance between the two. And I believe a good PI will be flexible with you with that.
Can I add to that too? Do we have enough time for me to yeah, so similar to what Stephanie was saying, and I know Troy mentioned this earlier. My topic changed a bit throughout the program, but my advisors, her research is, in intimate partner violence with LGBTQ plus Arab Americans, completely different than my topic. But I think it comes down also to the relationships that you build with your advisor and the people within a department, because those relationships can lead to them potentially connecting you with other people who may be more aligned with your work, and you can have them on your committee too. And that's kind of what happened to me. So although it's not, my research isn't identical or too similar to my advisors, she's still able to mentor me and to connect me with people who she knows will be able to mentor me as well. So relationships are important. Forming those relationships are important.
All right. We have another question about kind of being involved as a graduate student. How did you find any organizations and or clubs to be involved in?
Well, when I got here, the clubs find you. If they really doing if they really doing their job here, right? Um, um, you'll be found. You go see it on campus, right? People pass out Liberty Day, some of the cutest little bottles you could ever see with some type of new drink in it, right? That they out passing out, engaging the community. Also, you get emails. I got the opportunity to become a member of the African American Association, the Graduate Student Council, right? Be fully engaged in GEO, right? But trust me, if people doing their job, you go hear from them.
Yeah,
Thanks.
can I add to this too, actually,
Oh
just a
yeah,
quick?
absolutely.
Just another thing I wanted to like add, especially for everybody new to Chicago. There's a lot of extracurriculars on campus, but also remember like the city is kind of like your oyster. Um, is that the same? Something like that. But yeah, there's so many things to do in and around the city. I have a lot of friends that like are very involved in like dance. I dance in Belmont Cragen with Ballet Folklorico de Chicago, and that's something I do like multiple times a week. And there's like so many other things. Like I know people taking like swim lessons, people taking like, I don't know, I have a friend that's learning how to like fly planes. And just like all these things that you can get involved with in and around the city. So I think that that's one of the perks of, going to UIC is that you have access to everything both on and off campus in terms of like extracurriculars.
Thanks, Eduardo. All right, let's go back a little bit to sort of that personal work-life balance, but also, sort of how to cope as a graduate student and how to really, utilize your time well. There's a few questions that are all kind of related, so I'm going to try to sort of weave them all together. There's one about, is it possible to, or is it recommended to block out Sundays so that you can sort of let your mind rest? Also, are there any recommendations for things that you would buy or healthy snacks that you recommend for commuter students? Um, so let's kind of group all those together. Do you take your Sundays to relax and recuperate? How do you cope during the week? What kind of snacks and meals help you stay healthy?
I can start it off really quick. I think just in terms of things to buy, and I think this is like the most important thing I don't know that I can think of, is you don't want to wake up one day and like your laptop just doesn't start and like your whole dissertation, all your data and everything's on there. So either one of these, but I do both just because it's like my biggest fear. An external hard drive with enough space to store all of your data, all of your papers, presentations, anything like that. Um, or I think what I use, I think UIC has Dropbox or something like that, or I think it's called Box. And I have on my own computer Dropbox. I think I pay like $10 for like 2 TB per month. And so you just, have it on your computer, it syncs everything. So it stores it locally and like on a cloud. So I think that's my biggest recommendation, just because I've seen it already happen to multiple people, and it's so much more common than you might think that, your laptop stops working, your device stops working, and you kind of like have to figure out how am I going to redo like years of all this data collection and stuff, writing.
I was just gonna say for like the food, I think just like meal prepping is like the best. And I'm sure everyone has heard that before, but like just really sticking to like the basics, right? Like so like chicken, ground beef, rice, and having like three vegetables. I think like that's just like the easiest way. And I've realized too, like the more simple you are about your eating, the more easy it is for you to cook, and then you don't have to like overthink it when we already have like a million things to already think about. So I think just simplicity goes like a very long way. And then as snacks wise, I think like Greek yogurt is a good one. Protein bars as well, protein shakes. So things like that, very like basic. Things that were gonna keep you full and keep you sharp as you're like doing your work as well, while you're on campus.
I think for me, yeah, meal prep is important. I think what really helped me was the therapy that is offered. I think you get, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it's like a semester of therapy, um, individual therapy, and there are also like support groups for students on campus. But also, being someone who, well, I had, because of the resources that UIC offered, I was able to get psych testing for to see if I'm neurodivergent. So I'm sure a lot of us may have some symptoms or suspect that, but therapy certainly helped in getting a diagnosis helps as well. And hopefully someone can put that in the chat because I can't remember exactly which building or the exact like resource for that. But yes, therapy helps. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, I cannot sing the praises enough of our counseling center on campus. They really are wonderful for our students. So let's look at, we've got a couple questions about being an assistant. One is specific about being a TA, and I suspect this one's a little bit more general. What does your typical workday look like? And if you want to be a TA, what's the best time to do that and how do you balance it while being a student?
I think I did a good job at this. So I take the question. Um, mostly you become a TA through assignment. If you get a scholarship or TA offer, GA offer, you normally come from your department. Um, and it comes from not that it's exclusively coming from your department, but 9 times out of 10, you will want it to come from your department for this question to be really answered because you learning the fundamentals from teaching that class from that field of study. And that is absolutely critical, especially for preliminary examinations. So that's what I basically did. I'm good at taking one class into another class and making that class respond to what I'm bringing. And that's the same thing that you do with your TA assignment and your schoolwork, right? This is what the fundamentals say for what I'm teaching in this classroom. How does it apply here? And then you get better and better at it. That's the simple answer.
Thanks, Troy. Any of our other panelists want to chime in about being an assistant and what your work days look like and how you balance that with being a student?
I think it can vary a lot too, depending on departments, and even within like a department, it can still vary a lot. I know some TAs, you might be doing a lot more grading. My first TA-ship, I was pretty much just a grader. So it'd be like 150 students for homework assignments, and grading that and their exams was really my entire responsibility the whole semester. The class I've been teaching for the last 2.5 years, it's still, I'm pretty much responsible for grading, but now like I have a teaching load where I'm teaching 2 labs a week. Um, but even then, like the class I teach is like very structured. The professor that teaches the lecture pretty much has like, this is what we're going to be doing every week. This is the lab manual that I wrote just tell students to, follow the instructions in the lab manual, and you can add slides if you want. So not a ton of planning on my end. But there are some classes, some opportunities for you, to, even though it might be a bigger workload, to take that sort of like creativity, that sort of initiative to kind of design the sort of class you want to teach, and customize it a lot more to your own teaching preferences, teaching style.
Great, thank you. We've got a couple questions about Chicago. So one, how do you commute? How long is it? How do you get here? The student is used to living on campus, most likely as an undergrad. And also one from an out-of-state student, any recommendations for cool places in Chicago or around UIC to visit?
Well, I guess I gotta take this question too, huh? I'm a lifelong resident of Chicago, and every place in Chicago is dope to me. I mean, find your space, find your people, and there's a lot of dope people on campus, so it's right. But I will say, mm, Boys Town, for just being out at night, safe, welcoming, diverse. Um, I think I guess that's one of the places that I feel like I've been mostly comfortable throughout my time here in Chicago. Um, I will also say visit these sites though. National Public Housing Museum. Um, uh, the Taste of Chicago, right? Visit these traditional Buzz Billiken Parade, UIC be on the front line there, right? That's where you will find community at, right? I want to offer y'all some spaces where I can guarantee you will find community. Also, another place that I love going to is Humboldt Park, especially when they had a parade, right? It'd be over bussing. So yes.
I think near campus too, there's a lot of cool things. So we're pretty much like right next to downtown. So one of the things I like to do because so unfortunately my lab doesn't have any windows. And I like to work and like look outside and stuff. I'll go like downtown in the Loop or River North a lot to like different coffee shops. We're right north of Pilsen. So 18th Street is like one of like the coolest like places in my opinion in the city. So a ton of coffee shops on 18th Street where you can go to work. A lot of cool like Mexican restaurants, really pretty murals to look at, even if you're just like looking for somewhere to go on a walk. Um, but there's a lot of cool stuff like here in the area. Little Italy's cool. A bunch of restaurants on Taylor Street, around campus if you ever need to take like a quick break during your day.
I feel like everyone mentioned like a lot of like cool spots to go to. I know the other part of the question was like commuting. I know that this could like vary, but I feel like for the most part, like all my colleagues live like close to campus, like it could range anywhere from like, oh, they're like walking, or it could be like a 30-minute like train ride. So I think it just like very much varies. Like I mentioned, like I've already like, I've been living in the suburbs for my whole life essentially. So I never left like the suburbs. So I'm still living in the south suburbs. So the commute can be really heavy. It could be like an hour, but I'm at the point of my program where I'm not coming into campus not as much anymore. So it makes it like easier. So a lot of more like independent work. My first 2.5 years, I was going to campus about like 3 times. So yeah, I would just either take the metro, or I would just like drive and pay for like the parking pass. But I still like doing really cool things around like campus. I think like Fulton Market is one of them. That area has like so many different like restaurants to go to, like with your friends. I know we're really close to like Greek Town as well, so there's like a lot of like cool restaurants there as well. And then there's also like a lot of like free activities that they do. Well, it's about to end now, but like in the park, by Millennium Park, they do a lot of cool things too. So also like looking up online, they have a lot of like free different types of events that you all could go to.
Yeah, there's no shortage of things to entertain yourself if you're a foodie, festivals, lots going on all year round in Chicago. Summer, of course, more of it outdoors with hopefully beautiful weather. Thank you all for all of those recommendations. I know folks are dropping some things in chat as well. Let's talk a little bit about personal life. We've got a couple questions. One talks about how pursuing a higher degree impacted your personal relationships. And what advice do you have to manage those other than communication, although communication may be key?
Okay. Let me see. So because I feel like I'm one of the older people in in my cohort, so my circle was already kind of small. Um and I'm an introvert, so I don't go out as much. Um but there are some days where I do have free and I'll be very I'll kind of have to drag myself out of the house to spend time with my friends. But you know that if they're your true friends, they'll understand that this is kind of a huge undertaking, and they'll understand that you obviously still care for them. So I know you said no communication, but I think communication is very important. But yeah, so yeah, just being open and they'll still be around, and thankfully mine are still around, even though I don't talk to them as much. But they understand. So, but also last thing, last thing, and this I did gain a circle of friends in the program. So that also helps to kind of find your community in your program. And everyone is not going to be your friend, but it certainly helps to have people who understand the experience that you're going through. Um, so yeah, that's all.
There's a few questions, again, about commuting. We've got some links dropped in the chat, so we're going to recommend that folks visit those. There's a lot of information about how to commute and where to come from and how to get student discounts. So we recommend checking that out. There's also a campus commuter center in Student Center East, so I would recommend that you check that out as well. This is a good question here about any recommendations for participating in community service projects that are facilitated by UIC. I don't know if any of our panelists may know about any opportunities for community service. I don't know if those are more college or department specific, perhaps. I'm guessing nobody on our panel has any experience with that. And I do not personally know, but we'll see if we can dig anything up on our website that we can share a link for. Let's see, other questions. All right, how about this one? For all of our panelists, if you have a question and you're not sure where to begin, who do you ask or where do you go to try to figure out who to talk to about your question?
I think it depends on the question. If it's a question about your supervisor, or if it's a question about research, right? It depends on the question. And depending on the question, you relate that question directly to its closest contact person, right? If it's here in the institution, right? whatever questions you go have, there's a contact person for, or right, you could try to figure it out, but there's a contact. If I got a question about how I go about engaging a student who's using GBT chat, right? I know to go to my supervisor, right? And if my supervisor don't get the answer or he out, then he has a supervisor, right? So I think questions get addressed based on what the question is about, and you can figure out the contact person based on what the question is.
Just other panelists, do we have any suggestions for where you sort of start when you're not sure who to ask a question of? I think Troy kind of covered it though. It depends on the question.
Yeah, I think it depends on the question. From a research aspect, I think your advisor is always somebody good to start with. Especially because, they're probably the most familiar with your field. And so they may be able to direct you to like a paper to read, connect you with somebody that can kind of help you answer your questions. But as you kind of progress and you start kind of becoming more familiar with your research topic, your research questions. I may be sidetracking a little bit, but you're eventually going to have to form your dissertation committee. So kind of think about like what are the questions I'm frequently having, what are kind of like the areas I think I'm going to need most help with. And kind of build your committee off that. Like I have one person that does statistics on my committee, one person that does GIS, one person that does plant biology. So that way, if any questions kind of come up with my research, I know like I can go to one of them for direction if I'm not able to like figure it out on my own or if I'm kind of stuck somewhere. So I think use your PI, use your committee. I think it's something I do need to work on more personally is reaching out to my committee more when I have questions. But they're a resource there not only to, tell you if you're gonna pass your defense, pass your prelims, but to help you do the best research you can.
Yeah, I think also, but again, I keep going back to relationships, but knowing the people in your college. I know for the College of Nursing, there were a lot of opportunities where like first years could connect with second and third year PhD students. So having those relationships with people who have been in the program for a little bit and they may know more people or have more people in their network can certainly help, and maybe they can point you in the right direction too. So
All right, we've got a question. And we may have already answered this, but there might always be more to say on the topic of how do you find your people? Folks who have similar multidimensional identities and multiple responsibilities competing for their attention in their lives. How do you all find the people that are sort of comprise your support system?
I will always say shared interests, um, shared struggle as well. Um, and again, I'm gonna say this again. UIC has so many different organizations, it's so diverse, right? People go find you or you gonna find it if that's something that you're interested in. You're looking for people, you will find them here or they'll find you here.
Thanks, Troy. Let's see. We've got another question in the chat or the Q&A about when you were connected to your advisor. Was it someone assigned by your program or did you have to seek out your own advisor? How did that process look? And when did you find an advisor?
So I think if I'm correct, this varies a little differently by fields. So in ecology, usually you have to, in order to be admitted to a program, you have to have like a faculty member basically say like, yeah, they're going to be working in my lab. So I think when I was applying to grad school, the my senior year of undergrad, I started reaching out to faculty in like August, September. So that's kind of how I met my PI. I was looking through like the faculty website for the department, and our research interests were pretty aligned. And then that's when I reached out, and we had a few meetings to kind of like see if we were like a good research match, and if I wanted to like work in her lab. So I came in already with an advisor, but the other half of our department, like molecular cellular biology, neuroscience, I think usually they come in without an advisor, and they have to do like a series of rotations and hopefully get accepted into like one of those rotation labs to do their dissertation research.
The question was how to find like an advisor, correct? Or like yeah. Yeah, well for like the PhD, I know like even going into the PhD, like you have to already have like in mind like who you're gonna work with. So I believe like even in order to have like that relationship is you'll have to really try your best to have some type of connection, right? Like I look at it almost like an academic like relationship because it really much is like this is someone that's going to be guiding you. You know, you're going to be working with them for like 5 years, or 2 to 3 years, depending if you're a master's or PhD. So it's going to be a long time you're going to be working with this person. So just making sure like there is a match, not just with like research interests, but also like personality wise, the way that they work, the way that you work, does that really like work align with you? Are they more hands-on or more hands-off? Like, is that something that you like? That's something that, my advisor told me, more hands-off. I'm not gonna like nitpick at you and tell you like, hey, you have to submit this, hey, you have to do this. Like you have to take like your own like autonomy and accountability to do certain tasks. And if you're someone that doesn't like that, taking note of that. In a way, I even tell this to like undergraduate students that are interested in graduate school is, don't be afraid to like shoot emails to different advisors or or faculty members because what's the worst that they could say is either nothing because I know they get really busy, right? But a lot of the times, like, don't be afraid to send an email because people love talking about themselves. Like, and I think that's why all the grad students are here right now. So don't be afraid to do that because then that allows that faculty member know like, hey, that you are interested. And they're more likely to, set up a meeting with you, and things like that. So I feel like that's like one way is like don't be afraid to reach out to people because I believe I mentioned this earlier is that connections and networking is really what gets you through the door. And I really, really do believe that. So working on those communication skills is like really, really important to like, finding a great advisor and things like that.
Thank you, guys. That's a great question. Definitely some good advice and good responses. I know that, all of our attendees are new here, and so they're thinking a lot about the first day of school, the first year of graduate school. But for our panelists, how are you preparing for after graduation? Are there things that you recommend doing throughout your studies, to sort of be prepared for what comes next?
Um, for me, depending on kind of which area you want to get into, if you want to do research, or be, research centered, potentially looking at postdocs like towards the last few years of your program. Um, there are a lot of summer fellowships that can open up some doors for you for postdoc opportunities. And even if you don't want to go the postdoc route, those fellowships can still be a great opportunity for you to connect with professors from other universities who you can kind of develop relationships with and stay in contact with, and maybe they can give you a heads up on some faculty positions if you want to kind of stay in academia. Outside of the academic routes, I don't know. But for academia, that's kind of been like my path. So yeah.
Do the other panelists want to offer some thoughts on preparing for what comes next, postgraduate school? I know none of you are actually there yet, but what are you thinking about as you prepare for that someday?
That's kind of tough because you coming from one place and trying to exist into another place, not knowing which place you're going to go. Right? You don't know how successful you go be at because you're not even finished yet. So it's hard to even put like some sustainability into a thought around where you're going to be at in the future because you're not even finished yet. So that's a hard question coming from organizing into academics, right? It's a hard question. Yeah, it's a real hard question. I gotta go. I gotta go. So
No problem. Thank you, Troy, for joining us and all your advice today. All right, we've still got about 8 minutes to go. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to keep dropping those in the Q&A. And we do have a couple still. What are some activities and practices that you use to help de-stress, especially when coursework in your program are getting really tough?
For me, I think two things. One is like I mentioned, I dance. So like, making sure like I'm attending practices regularly and everything. I think just overall like being physically active is something that kind of helps you like de-stress. You get your steps in for the day, a good workout, and it kind of helps take all like the pressure of like your academic work, your research, away for the day. And I'm a super extroverted person, so I feel like I love hanging out like with people. And when things get like super busy and I don't see my friends, I'm like, oh my God, like I need to hang out with somebody like right now. So one of the things I'm super intentional about is planning like hangouts throughout the week, making sure that, I can either, go out for drinks with some friends, or if I need to like vent or anything to anybody, I have that opportunity to do so. And kind of keeping that social battery charged, to help me get through that week and not feel like super isolated with my work is something I really prioritize.
Thanks, Eduardo. We have a couple of questions related to taking notes. So when you're in the classroom as a student, what tools are you using to take notes? How are you organizing those notes? And how is it different than being an undergrad?
I feel like for me personally, I know this is going to be different again. Like I'm trying to be mindful of like when I think graduate student, it depends like if you're like in a STEM, are you in social science? I think it's like all different, right? Um, in social science and psychology, it's very like reading heavy, right? So like a lot of my classes were a lot of readings. And then also we took like statistical courses as well. So those were like the most challenging for me. So I guess like the notes, I feel like the way that I did notes in undergrad carried on to like graduate school for me personally because when I went to U of I, like I was already like taking notes and things like that. So a lot of the times now with the readings, it's like just like skimming because honestly, you're not gonna read every single thing that's assigned to you, and it's just finding like what are like the key points that are important for you to know. I think at this point, I'm sure like in undergrad, you all have seen how majority of people are taking notes on like iPads now, and I think that carries on into like graduate school. I see a lot of people having like iPads and things like that. And I think the reason for that is just makes it like super easy to kind of like organize everything and not having to carry a lot. GoodNotes is a good app. I know that that's free. So GoodNotes is like a virtual like notebook and you can have various notebooks on there. You could do files. For reading, Zotero is a really great one. So it allows you to upload any type of reading. On it, you can annotate it. It could even create like a whole reference list for you as well. So those are a few that I use now, to taking notes. And I still like hand notes. Like I have a lot of like small notebooks because for some reason writing things down like on piece of paper like feels better sometimes. But that's just like more like not, I guess, traditional type of note taking.
So as a follow-up to the note-taking question too, Maria asks about study methods. What methods do you recommend for studying? It looks like she's an incoming nursing student. So how would you all recommend studying with the vast amounts of knowledge you're going to learn?
For me, it well, not just for nursing, but I think it's important to know when you are sharpest, and kind of work around that. Like, I'm sharp like really early in the morning or kind of late at night when I can't get distracted, and I know everyone is asleep. So finding like your kind of peak hours, of when you can, retain information, has been really helpful, for me. And also, study groups, I know everyone's schedule is a bit different in grad school and, everyone has different responsibilities, but study groups really helps, with that too. So, yeah.
I think that also having like a little group either like in your lab or like in your department helps a lot. Like I'm a very like talkative person, so I like to just have a yap session to go over things. So I just kind of like to talk through all my thoughts and kind of get feedback as I talk through that. And it like I feel like speaking helps me work through my thoughts and clear those up. So kind of having that group that you could either like practice presentations with, talk through ideas with, um, I think is super beneficial. Or even, if you don't need to talk, maybe sitting somewhere and like writing all together, at the end, kind of going over what you wrote, seeing if everything makes sense. Having that sort of like small support group is super beneficial, especially if it's people that are familiar with the work you do.
All right. Well, I think we've reached the point where we're just have a few minutes left. So why don't we give each of our three panelists a chance to offer some final thoughts? Any advice or ideas or suggestions or wise words that you would like to offer as a parting thought, and then we will wrap up.
I just want to tell everybody to remember that, before you're a student, you're a person first. So, make sure that, you're feeling mentally and physically okay, take care of yourself. If you're feeling like super overwhelmed, take time for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're like working and you're not feeling your best, you're not going to produce your best work. And even if you take breaks, take some time off, and you're not necessarily working all day, the outcome is going to be a lot better if you're, feeling your best and, taking care of yourself. So always put yourself first.
I guess just to kind of reiterate what I said earlier, like, you guys belong here. You went through the application process or the interview process. You're here for a reason. And also, it's okay to not know everything. There's such a vast, like, body of knowledge. And you just have to kind of be okay with knowing that, you're not going to get everything right on the first try, and that you have like people around you and resources around you that, are there to help you. And yeah, UIC has a lot of resources, and you can lean on your, your advisor or the people in your cohorts, family members. You have a whole team of people there supporting you. So
Well, it was really nice spending this hour with you all, and just like some parting words is like just remember your why. There is a why of why you chose UIC, why you chose your program, and why you chose that specific like research topic, right? So just remembering that is really important because there will come times where you don't want to do this anymore, where you feel discouraged, where it feels extremely difficult. But kind of grounding yourself and remembering like, hey, like I'm here for a reason, whether it's like for your family or a particular goal you have, whatever it is. So always remember your why through this journey that you are about to start.
All right. Thank you so much, Io, Stephanie, Eduardo, also Troy, who had to leave us a little earlier. We really appreciate all of your time and all of your thoughts, and your valuable feedback and suggestions and wise words. So we'll bid you farewell, and thank you again. And hopefully, all of our students who are attending feel like they were able to have their questions answered. And then last but not least, we do have representatives from the Graduate Employees Organization here today. So I will turn it over to Cameron, and I think Hyacinth is here as well. And if you need to share screen, you should be able to.
Thank you for that. My name is Cameron Melendez. I'm one of your two co-presidents for the Graduate Employment Organization, the graduate union for workers here at UIC. Hi, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Hi Davids. I am the current GEO Chief Steward, appointed Chief Steward. And yeah, I'm a fourth year in the English program, so I've been here for a while.
And unlike Hi, I just got here and I'm a second year history master student. We've got a little time and we've got some slides that we thought would be kind of useful to see as incoming students. So Hi, maybe you could pull those up. It's important to know that whatever we say here that represents GEO does not explicitly represent the view of UIC or the employing department. They are the views of GEO and GEO alone. You might have a good question, and that is, what the heck is a union? So if we go to the next slide, GEO, the Graduate Employees Organization, is the second oldest graduate worker labor union in the state of Illinois. We follow the UIUC GEO, the one in Urbana, that was the first graduate union in the state of Illinois in the 90s. In the 2000s, we worked and got our first contract in 2006. And so for the last 2 decades, we have been working to make sure that higher education remains public and affordable, and that we, as instructors who make it possible, are treated like the professionals we are. Now, a question may be, why GEO? Well, one of the things that I think matters a lot to us, because we are a union that is comprised of grad students, we are a volunteer union at every level, is that grad school can be a lonely and intimidating place. It can be alienating. I know Hi can attest to that. I can attest to that throughout my first year. And so one of the things that we are really keen on is to try to make a third space for graduate workers, for graduate professionals, that we can be here to be supportive and affirming in all our spaces. We plan to hold some socials, to take a moment outside of the bubble of graduate work, of research, of teaching courses, of doing courses, and to be able to get to know one another across department lines, across East Campus and across West Campus. Another thing that we're pretty keen on is to make sure that we're working and being the best that we can. So we're looking at holding some regular workshops to help us improve our teaching, to make education a more equitable and accessible place in our classrooms. Another reason why GEO, defend higher education. I think whether you're here to seek a profession afterwards, whether you're here to study your lifelong passion, the mechanism that we oftentimes use is higher education, is to get that degree. So one of the things that the GEO is very interested in is to make sure that we fight back to protect public research and education in the state of Illinois, especially in a time where it seems to be not the most popular thing in the US. We regularly help Sanctuary for All on campus. We run ICE Watch trainings. We watch Know Your Rights trainings for undocumented international workers. But in a broader sense, what's cool about unions is they often work together. We work hand in hand with a coalition of unions and partners, both on campus, places like SCAU 73, United Faculty, IFT, AFT, a lot of acronyms in the union world, but essentially these are just organizations like ours, but across the Chicago universe and beyond. And we work closely with them to put forward a agenda to keep people safe and to keep people respected in their profession. Another thing is if you're like me and you're moving from a space, I'm from Mississippi originally, we don't have unions down there. So one of the things about unions is that they have these things called bread and butter issues. And that's, we make sure across whether you're a GA or a TA or an RA that you're treated with dignity and respect. And that looks like a lot of different ways. One of them is that we have a work employment contract, and we can use that contract in our departments to make sure that abuse is prevented and addressed, to make sure that you're not overworked, to make sure that you get all of the benefits that you are entitled to make sure your paycheck isn't late. All of the mechanical things around your working conditions, we would like to be the person there to help you when those moments are tense and tough. So one of the things that we do is we're always looking to improve the conditions of our workers. And one of them is to look at how we could find better healthcare options for graduate workers. And one of them might be CGIP through the state employee insurance program. Another thing is we have a new contract. Some folks on the panel may recognize me or not. We've been working for over a year now to finalize a new contract. What that means is that the previous agreement that was signed has expired a while ago, and a new one is passed yesterday for our union. What is the contract? It kind of determines how we're treated on the job and the benefits that we get, and also kind of cool the wage that we get. And so, if you have a 50% FTE, you may remember that you signed a contract for roughly $24,000. That is kind of wrong now. I mean, starting in September, you're going to look at maybe $150 extra a month, going from $31 to $35 an hour, looking at around $28.50 a month instead of $26.88. And that's because the union, in a way. I ran some numbers, and I thought it's a cool statistic that since 2006, 20 years into our union, the GEO has actually managed to double graduate wages. And if you do the math, it actually beats inflation by 35%. Back in 2006, the first contract, graduate workers were paid for $13,000. This upcoming year, they'll be paid $25,000. And or 25,652. It's good to be specific. Kind of the last thing about unions that I think are really helpful for a college campus and place like that is that the GEO will help you protect your political rights. The union will protect you from retaliation from engaging in political activity on campus. It's kind of a crazy time right now, and that can be scary for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And it's important to know that this graduate union, your graduate union, has your back in those situations. So while you cannot use your workplace resources for political activities, you also cannot have your appointment threatened due to holding and acting on a political belief. Something we take pretty seriously. Okay, whether you're in your kitchen or you're in bed or whatever you're doing, I just have one request. If you could write down these 2 email addresses, whether on your phone, whether on a piece of paper, it may be a time where you jump into our union and you are pulled into this community that we have and you love it, or there's a time where you may never encounter it all. Please write down the steering at UICGEO and the chief steward at UICGEO email. There may be a time, whether you're in a 2-year degree like me or in a 5 or 6-year degree like High, where something goes on and maybe someone you work under is not the best situation, or something happens with your payroll, or something is happening with your work conditions and you don't know where to turn. That steering email is the email that goes straight to the leadership here at the GEO. It will always get a response. The second email, the chief steward email, will go to people like Hi or whoever has the position after Hi. And Hi is like our general guardian slash custodian in a way. So again, if you write down something from this, please take one of those emails. We are also holding a welcome back potluck. I know that coming to grad school and like me, I moved. I didn't have stuff in my grocery, I didn't have stuff in my um, fridge. So we're holding a potluck coming up next week, I think next Friday. And we're going to provide food, we're going to provide bev.
Cameron, sorry to interrupt. There was a comment in the Q&A that the QR code is not working. So I don't know if you have another one you can share.
Ooh, I do. I can even get you a link. Thank you for that. And I was going to say use the QR code as the last thing. If the QR code is not working, let me steal a little something. Maybe we can just go to that thank you slide. And then I know I just sped through a lot of information and we don't have a ton of time, but we do have about 5-ish minutes. And maybe I could peep. Could you go back over the stipend numbers? Yes. So the numbers aren't fully broken down on the PowerPoint, but this year there will be a 6% increase in wages. And then for your second year, your third year, and your fourth year, those will be a campus wage, which will be determined by the administration. There are also other employment sectors on campus, some of the faculty, some of the custodians, some of the administration people that also are on a campus wage, and that's determined by the administration. Here is, I'm not sure if I can drop this here to everyone, but there is also a link in the chat for everyone for a space to fill out a card. While all of you will receive the contract that the union bargains over, you guys don't necessarily start as union members. So we would love to have you as a part of our union. It's a democratic union. All of our spaces are open to members. We hold elections. It truly is a really cool part of grad school. Got like 5 minutes left. Are academic professionals included in the contract? The people included in the contract are, yeah. Jamie, I'm not sure if you wanted to answer that question. It's for graduate research assistants, teaching assistants, and graduate assistants. Things like adjunct professors would not necessarily.
Yep, that's
Sorry.
correct. Assistants who have a 0.25 up to 0.67 FTE appointment are those who are eligible to be part of GEO. Academic professionals is a separate category on campus. Campus HR governs a lot of the policies for them. And presently, the academic professionals category is not unionized.
Any other questions? Yeah, I saw the... Hi, maybe you could test the link to make sure that that is working in the chat. It works for me. How can you become a TA or a GA? Is the stipend increase applied flatly? TA and GA positions are things that you can find in your department may give those out, things like the UIC Jobs Board, things like Handshake. We do not give out those appointments. Jamie, I see that you would like to answer some of these, so if you would like to, by all means.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, they'll be answered live. So you got
it.
Oh,
that's what that means. Is the new contract available for us to view? Yes. Well, not quite yet. It will be on the website soon. I think the next step is for the contract, for us to receive a clean slate of the contract, and then that will be passed to the Board of Trustees. Can you pull back up the slide with the potluck address? Hi, could you throw that back up? I I know there's not a ton of time, so I want to be really mindful of the questions that we can get to. Any kind of final calls or questions? Can we see the slide also with the numbers? I assume you mean the wage numbers. If you already signed an old offer letter, will we still receive the new pay raise? Yes. So here is one last time. The emails to write down, the location and time for the potluck. If that changes at all, we will make sure to update it on comms, things like our Instagram, things like, we have a communication system with our members. And then finally, hi, maybe if you want to tab back out to the slide about the new contract. And then I think that's our time.
And just one final note to say, if you have any further questions, feel free to use either of those two email addresses to ask them. We are happy to answer them.
That is true. And again, special thank you to Jamie and the rest of the team for having us and letting us spend a little bit of time with you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right. That is indeed time on our orientation today. So just a couple of highlights. If you are still having trouble accessing that online portal, again, our apologies. There's been some technical issues with that, so just keep checking it every day. If you are a new student and did not get the email to access the portal yet, don't fear. Those will be coming as soon as they fix whatever is going on behind the scenes. So it will be available hopefully soon. Unfortunately, I don't have an ETA on that, but hopefully soon. And you can always let us know if you're having trouble, so we can try to keep a list of the students who need assistance with that. And then last but not least, a reminder again that today has been recorded. So we will have that up on the Graduate College website by the end of the week. If you can't find the link, again, feel free to send us an email. Here's our email address and our website. And we always invite you to join us in person as well. We are on the 6th floor of University Hall. So you are welcome to stop by and visit any of us. There's always somebody here during the week. And then a final reminder, again, about the Welcome Back Picnic on September 9th. And there's the QR code to register. And that is the end of our orientation for today. So if you have any questions, we'll stick around for 1 or 2 more minutes. You can drop those in the Q&A. Otherwise, we wish you a wonderful day and a great start to your fall semester here at UIC. Thank you for coming.